So also I saw this oh wow. Ooh, Kai Foster's back. Okay, I can't wait to watch that. Um but I actually want to read an article that I saw earlier today. Because I think that a lot of you might actually get something from it. Sorry, all the apps on this iPad updated, and now I have to kind of like find the app. Going back to one. So yes. Okay, so there is a New York Times newsletter, and it is called The Morning. I guess just the morning. So every morning it just comes to your inbox. It's written by David Leonhardt. It's called Friending Bias. So he says, "Good morning. A large new study offers clues about how lower income children can rise up the economic ladder." Now, okay, so I know a lot of people in life. I honestly feel like what happens with me is I go through waves, as in like I don't want to surround myself with people who just don't understand like what I'm going through, or who don't empathize with me, or who can't like who aren't like judging me, because I don't like to feel judged. Like if I feel judged by you, I probably will kind of stop coming around, or maybe you will start judging me and then you'll stop coming around, whichever way. But you know, through all of the things, like I always find myself around people who have a lot more wealth than me. And that's been kind of a thing in my entire life. So one thing I found about that is like a lot of wealthy people are confused about like why they don't really have any poor friends, or why poor people are why they have so many misunderstandings about wealth. And I was having this conversation with one of my friends who's like a trust fund baby, and she's just like, people talk about houses in all these weird ways. Like if I show someone, you know, my grandma's home versus like my home or something, they'll be like, this is a mansion. And it's like, this is not a mansion. This is like a regular ass house. And I think it's because like there are so many immigrant communities moving here, and they've seen like television shows. So it'll just be like a regular, you know, middle class home that they'll see, and they'll be like, it's a mansion. This is like Hollywood Hills or something. It's very strange. But let's just actually read this. So they have this picture of a girl, Mary Bowie, a criminal defense lawyer, and she's the first person in her family with a postgraduate degree. That's really good. And there's something called friending bias. Social scientists have made it a priority in recent years to understand upward mobility. That is really big. They have used tax records and other data to study which factors increase the chances that children who grow up in poverty will be able to escape it as adults. Now, I just kind of want to say something to preface it really here. So the woman that they use, she's kind of like unambiguous in a sense. Like you can't really tell which cultural group that she's from. She's kind of like light brownish with very curly hair. She's kind of chubby. Like she could be black, she could be Asian, she could be like, you know, no one really knows. And there's a prevalence of black people in America who have money from entertainment. And so, and I mean like not fake money, not partial money, not like kind of money. I mean like money, like they're rich, like the rich, or they've had a lot of money and lost it. But either way, they've had access. And like, I've got to speak up about that, because like I am not trying to say, like I said, everyone in my family is very different. Like we don't have this like communal bond of like, we all have this much dough. Like it's not like that, okay? But there are people in my family who have a lot of money, like a lot of money, and they've had more and lost it. Like my grandma specifically has blown through millions of dollars in her life, like a lot of fucking money. just blew it, just spent it all. And like some people don't care. Like some people do not believe in generational wealth, or maybe they just didn't know about it because my grandma did not have any education. So that's important. Like if you don't have education, financial literacy, and you just have money, one day you won't have any money. Like a fool and their money are soon departed, right? So what I'm saying is this picture of this woman of color kind of gives the impression like her story is very general to like all the women of color, and we just got to stop that shit because that's not everybody's experience, and let like Diddy's children be like a really good example here. I think people are forgetting because especially with like so many immigrants coming into this country, and we have like people on the come up, you know, and everybody's like watching their whole families be great. Like Kevin Hart, for instance, like we've watched him come from like being in Philly, being this comedian, to being like this mega superstar who has like everything. But like there are people who've had a lot more than Kevin Hart has now, you know, and like they still do, and they're black and they're here. They're just they're not on social media like Kevin Hart is now. Kevin Hart has a lot though, so I don't want to be sitting here like Kevin Hart doesn't have a lot. He has a lot. He got a lot. He's made a lot for himself. He'll probably make a lot more. But I'm just saying this isn't the first time that we've seen this. So I think a lot of people are confused when they look at like, I think the best example of this is like Diddy's children, because basically all of them have decided to also go into entertainment, and there has to be space for those children to exist. Like they know all the game already because they grew up around it, and people are not familiar with black people having that privilege and access. That's a conversation that we cannot ignore, and we have to have it. We have to have it. Okay, so education spanning pre-K through college seems to play a big role, the research suggests. Money itself is also important. Longer, deeper bouts of poverty can affect children for decades, and other factors like avoiding eviction, having access to good medical care, growing up in a household with two parents may also make upward mobility more likely. But now there's another intriguing factor to add to the list, thanks to a study being published this morning in the academic journal Nature, Friendships with People Who Are Not Poor. Yes. Growing up in a community connected across class lines improves kids' outcomes and gives them a better shot at rising out of poverty. Raj Chetty, an economist at Harvard, and one of the study's 4 principal authors, told The Times. Well, everybody knows that, right? Because if you only know poor people, how will you would just act and do as the poor people do. But if you know people from other social classes, or if you just follow them now because you have like Instagram, you've got YouTube, if you just follow them and like watch what they do, then you could also just copy that and pretty much have the same outcome. The study tries to quantify the effect in several ways. One of the sharpest, I think, compares 2 otherwise similar children in low-income households. One who grows up in a community where social contacts mostly come from the lower half of the socioeconomic distribution, and another who grows up in a community where social contacts mostly come from the upper half. The average difference between the two in terms of their expected adult outcomes is significant, the authors report. It's the same as the gap between a child who grows up in a family that makes $27,000 a year and a one who grows up in a family that makes $47,000 a year. Yeah, that's a big difference. The study is based on a dizzying amount of data, including the Facebook friendships of 72 million people. You can explore the findings through these charts and maps from the Upshot. I like the Upshot. You should read the Upshot. The study is based on a dizzying amount of data, including, I just read that. Robert Putnam, a political scientist who has long studied social interactions, including his book, Bowling Alone, said that the study was important partly because it hinted at ways to increase upward mobility. It provides a number of avenues or clues by which we might begin to move this country in a better direction, he said. In recent decades, the U.S. has moved in the opposite direction, raising economic inequality, and a shortage of new housing in many communities have helped increase economic segregation. That's true. Even within communities, cross-class social interactions seem to have declined. That's true too. This chart shows the extent to which Americans segregate themselves by class. It's very large, actually. The neighborhood that you live in impacts your life chances in so many ways. Marie Bowie's story. There seem to be three main mechanisms by which cross-class friendships can increase a person's chances of escaping poverty, Chetty told me. The first is raised ambition. Social familiarity can give people a clearer sense of what's possible. The second is basic information, such as how to apply to college and for financial aid. The third is networking, such as getting a recommendation for an internship. That's true. My colleague, Claire Kane Miller, after speaking with the study's authors in recent weeks, set out to find some real life examples of its findings. Claire focused on Angelo Rodriguez High School in Fairfield, California, a mid-sized city between Sacramento and Oakland. The school has an unusually high number of cross-class interactions, and one of the people whom Claire interviewed was Marie Bowie, a 24-year-old who grew up in a lower middle class family that coped with divorce, layoffs, and lost homes. So that's hard. And who made friends with richer girls in high school. Interesting. My mom really instilled working hard in us, being knowledgeable about our family history. You have to be better. You have to do better, Bowie said. But I didn't know anything about the ACT, and my friend's parents signed up for this class, so I thought I should do that. I had friends' parents look at my personal statements, and today Bowie is a criminal defense lawyer. She found her job through the friend of her high school friends. That's good for her. That's good for her, and I'm glad for her, but I just don't like that, because like for me personally, I know a lot of people, but first of all, I'm introverted and I'm mean, so like I don't like a lot of people. But I don't think that just because like I don't like people, I should be like, I can't work at this company, or you have to, or because like our politics are different, you like cancel me, and it's like, oh, I can't apply at this company anymore just because like I don't want to be your neighbor. Like, I don't want to live near you, and I'm not inviting you to any of my events or parties, but I don't think that means that we can't like work at the same company, but we're not friends though. Like, and people get hurt feelings about that, but I honestly feel that way. Work is work, other things are other things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just, that's how it is. How churches shine. Oh, that's true. Angelo Rodriguez High School is a telling case study because it is more economically and racially diverse than most schools. That diversity is necessary for a high level of socioeconomic integration, but it is not sufficient, the study's authors say. In some diverse communities, lower and upper income Americans led relatively segregated lives. Yeah, this country is segregated by race, not by class. Well, it's segregated by class, but more by race than class. I mean, well, class is like racialized, and it's so complicated. The school didn't draw its students from only one community. It instead had an unusually shaped district, including both poorer and richer neighborhoods, and also accepted some students from outside that district's boundaries. The school's open architecture also encouraged serendipitous socializing. Accidental, unstructured interactions between students was a very high priority. John Defender, one of the school's architects, said, what might increase cross-class interactions elsewhere. Among the promising possibilities, the researchers say, is more housing, including subsidized housing in well-off areas, more diverse K-12 schools and colleges, and specific efforts like public parks that draw a diverse mix of families to encourage interactions among richer and poorer people. I don't know. Here's what I will say, like, as awful as like some of y'all might think I am, if you know me from other places or something that I've said on Twitter or something, I still be out here bopping around, and like no matter which way I bop, I seem to like bop right into the right back in the same social class that I was like born into. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like the way that you were socialized. It's about culture. Like Americana culture is a thing. Like some people don't know the Backstreet Boys. Like when Drake did that whole thing where he's like singing the Backstreet Boys song, that doesn't mean something to everyone. Like a lot of the Bollywood people who are coming over here right now and a big part of the Asian community, I'm not saying everybody, but like fresh off the boat people, I don't know if they were Backstreet Boys. NSYNC, I don't know if it was a thing. I don't think the Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake relationship, we weren't all crying a river. That's what I'm trying to say. Youth sports, youth sports by contrast have become more segregated as affluent families have flocked to so-called travel teams. I haven't read about that, I don't know. A successful effort to increase interactions would probably need to address the particular roles of race too, right? More racially diverse places tend to have fewer cross-class friendships, the study found. Our society is structured in ways that discourage these kinds of cross-class friendships from happening, and many parents, often white, are making choices about where to live and what extracurriculars to put their kids into that make those connections less likely to happen. Jessica Calarco, a sociologist at Indiana University, said, Claire's story delves into more detail on the role of race. The bottom line, the stagnation of living standards for working class and poor Americans is such a giant problem that no single change will solve it. But the explosion of academic research about upward mobility, including this new study, has at least offered a clearer sense of what might help. Social integration seems to play a crucial role. I really don't know what to say because like I said, I grew up an arts kid. Like I'm literally looking at like this right now and this. If you guys don't see this, this is literally like my Harry Potter box. Okay, this is me. There's this other one that I actually you can kind of see it. It's right there. This is me when I was in 6th grade. They made me the teacher of the physical education class because I've just always been like a leader. And this is me in my like art attack book. And there's something about actually going to art school, right? And having, those are all straight A's, like A+, A+, A+ in arts. And having a really quality public education, especially if it's arts field, with like theater and music, allows you the ability to like express yourself in certain ways. And I have got to say, we do not have many examples of Black women expressing themselves. So when someone like me comes along, it is really weird for other populations to deal with. They don't know what's going on at all. They're like, what the fuck is happening? What is she doing? This is so strange to us. We've never seen this. What is she? I don't understand. Nothing makes sense. Oh my God, our world is upside down. A Black person, blah, blah, blah. And it's very hard. Like I said, I just come from a place of a lot of privilege. Like, and there's a lot of people, well, not a lot. I can think of my one cousin, though. She's had like even more privilege than me to an extent because she grew up very lower class on like public assistance and like public housing and stuff. Like I didn't grow up like that. But there's just something that comes with like navigating public spaces and especially like public schools and like interacting with the common community. Like if you watch In the Comment section with Brett Cooper, like do you actually understand what she's talking about? Do you get it? Like, does it make sense? Like, you don't have to agree with it, but I really feel like there's quite a lot of people who just have no fucking idea what she's talking about. Like, what she's saying to them sounds so foreign. And that's weird because Brett is talking about, like, pretty much like the average American sort of like sentiment. I mean, she's pretty far right leaning. Well, no, actually, no. I feel like she's kind of like if here's the right, she's like moderately right. Like she's conservative, but she's not like far right extremist. Like she did go to like public school and she went to like fucking UCLA, okay? Like she's seen the Californianess. You know, like some people haven't even seen it at all. They've never even seen a gay person or something. Like, they don't. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think we're kind of confused about like what moderate America kind of looks like, and that's kind of scary. I don't know.